3 days ago, I walked into a lawyer's office thinking I was there by mistake. Turns out, the man I'd been styling for 2 years, the one whose fiancée barely acknowledged my existence, had left me half of everything he owned, and she has no idea what's coming. If you've ever felt invisible in someone else's story, this one's for you. Hit that like button if you're ready for a tale that'll make you question everything you think you know about the people in your life. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for this ending. My name is Jasmine, and I'm a stylist. Not the kind you see on TV with celebrity clients and red carpet moments. I work with business people, helping them look sharp for boardrooms and galas. It pays well enough, but it's lonely work. Most clients see me as furniture that happens to have opinions about their wardrobe. 2 years ago, I got a call from someone named Nathaniel Brooks. He needed help preparing for a series of investor meetings. When I arrived at his penthouse that first day, I expected another uptight businessman who'd grunt approval at whatever I picked out. Instead, I met this man, who opened the door himself, offered me coffee, and actually asked my name. Nathaniel was different. He listened when I explained why certain cuts worked better for his frame. He laughed at my jokes about fashion trends. Most importantly, he looked at me when I spoke. Really looked at me, like I was a person worth seeing. Our sessions became something I looked forward to. While I organized his closet, he'd tell me about his business deals, his travels, his complicated relationship with his father who'd built the company from nothing. I found myself sharing things to my dreams of opening my own boutique. My frustration with clients who treated me like I was invisible. Then I met Victoria. She swept into the penthouse one afternoon while I was helping Nathaniel prepare for a charity auction. Everything about her screamed old money, the way she moved, the way she spoke, the way she looked right through me like I wasn't there. When Nathaniel introduced me as his stylist, she gave me the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes, and said, "How nice," before turning away completely. From that moment, I understood my place in their world. Nathaniel would light up when I arrived, eager to continue our conversations from the week before. But when Victoria was around, I became part of the furniture again. She'd discuss me in third person while I stood right there. Tell the stylist to make sure your tie matches the invitation color scheme. Does the stylist know you have that meeting with the Andersons? The stylist, never my name, never even she. Just the stylist. What Victoria didn't know was that Nathaniel and I had started talking about more than clothes. During those quiet moments in his walk-in closet, surrounded by expensive suits and Italian shoes, he told me about feeling trapped in a life that looked perfect from the outside, but felt empty inside. And I told him about feeling invisible in a world where people only saw my function, never my face. Neither of us knew where it was leading. We just knew that for 2 hours every week, we saw each other clearly. The sessions started running longer. What used to be quick wardrobe consultations turned into 3-hour conversations. Nathaniel would ask me to stay for dinner, claiming he needed my opinion on what to wear to some upcoming event. But we'd end up talking about everything except clothes. I learned that he'd never wanted to run his father's company. His real passion was photography, something he'd given up when his dad had his first heart attack. I kept telling myself it was temporary. He said one evening, showing me a box of old cameras hidden behind his winter coats. 20 years later, I'm still waiting for temporary to end. Those cameras told a different story about who Nathaniel really was. The photos inside were beautiful street scenes, candid portraits, moments of ordinary people living extraordinary lives. You see people, I told him, studying a picture of an elderly man feeding pigeons in the park. Really see them? He looked at me then with this expression I couldn't quite read. So do you, he said quietly. The tension between us was getting harder to ignore. When our hands brushed, reaching for the same jacket. When he'd stand too close while I adjusted his collar. When our conversations stretched until midnight. We both felt it, but neither of us said anything. He was engaged, after all. Victoria made sure I never forgot that fact. She started showing up more often during our sessions, making pointed comments about wedding preparations. The caterer needs final numbers by Friday, she'd announce, watching Nathaniel's face. Mother thinks we should move the engagement party to the plaza instead. She never asked his opinion, just made declarations while staring at me like I was eavesdropping on private conversations. But I saw how Nathaniel's shoulders tensed whenever she entered the room, how his easy laughter disappeared, how he'd find excuses to step away from her touch. One Tuesday evening, everything changed. I arrived to find Nathaniel sitting on his bedroom floor, still in his work clothes, surrounded by scattered papers. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes and said, "I had chest pains today. At the office, they took me to the hospital." My heart stopped. "Are you okay? What did the doctors say?" "Stress." He laughed bitterly. "They said, I need to reduce stress in my life." Look around, Jasmine. My whole life is stress I didn't choose. I sat down beside him on that expensive carpet and did something I'd never done before. I took his hand. Then choose something different. He looked at our joined hands for a long moment. I think about it sometimes. What it would be like to just leave, start over somewhere else. With someone who sees me for who I really am, not what I represent. We both knew who he meant. "Nathaniel," I whispered, but he shook his head. I know this is complicated, but I need you to know that these Tuesday evenings, they're the only time I feel like myself. You make me feel real, Jasmine. Like I matter as a person, not just a bank account." The words hung between us like a bridge we were both afraid to cross. The call came on a Thursday morning. Car accident on the interstate. Nathaniel was gone. Just like that, Victoria handled everything with cold efficiency. The funeral was a spectacle, hundreds of people who barely knew him, all talking about his business achievements. I sat in the back, invisible again, watching her play the grieving fiancé while my heart shattered quietly. She cleaned house. Immediately after, "We won't be needing your services anymore," she told me over the phone, her voice flat. "Please don't contact this family again." That should have been the end of my story with Nathaniel Brooks. Except 3 weeks later, a lawyer named Mr. Patterson called. "Miss Washington, I need you to come to my office regarding the estate of Nathaniel Brooks." I almost hung up, thinking it was some kind of mistake, but something in his voice made me stay on the line. Walking into that law office felt like entering another dimension. Mr. Patterson handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in Nathaniel's handwriting, then cleared his throat. "Mr. Brooks left very specific instructions. You are to inherit 50% of his estate, valued at approximately $12 million. The room spun. That's impossible. He also left this letter for you to read first, before we discuss the details." My hands trembled as I opened it. Nathaniel's words hit me like a physical blow. "Jasmine, you saw me when I was invisible to everyone else, including myself. You deserve a life where you're never invisible again. Use this freedom to become everything you were meant to be." The woman I loved deserved nothing less. Victoria arrived 20 minutes later, her face twisted with rage and disbelief. But the will was ironclad. Nathaniel had seen me after all. Even when I thought I was invisible, he was making sure I'd never disappear again. That was 6 months ago. Victoria contested the will, of course, hiring 3 different law firms to prove Nathaniel wasn't in his right mind. But his lawyer had been thorough. Every document was signed, witnessed, and legally bulletproof. The money changed everything, but not in the way you might think. I didn't quit working or buy a mansion. Instead, I opened that boutique I'd dreamed about, but with a twist. Half my profits go to a scholarship fund for young women from backgrounds like mine. Women who've been told they're invisible, that their dreams don't matter. I called it seen because that's what Nathaniel gave me. The knowledge that I was worth seeing, worth remembering, worth loving. Victoria and I crossed paths once more at a charity gala downtown. She looked right through me, same as always, but this time I wasn't the stylist standing in the corner. I was a business owner, a donor, someone who belonged in that room just as much as she did. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd spent 2 years treating me like I was nothing, never imagining that the man she thought she owned had already chosen someone else. Not just for his heart, but for his legacy. Nathaniel taught me something precious in those Tuesday evening conversations. He showed me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about truly seeing someone and choosing to honor that vision. Even when the world tells you they don't matter. Sometimes the people who see us least are the ones who need to look the hardest. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments, have you ever been underestimated by someone who should have known better? Your story matters too, because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves to matter. And sometimes, if you're lucky, someone will make sure you never feel invisible again.